My name is Celeste Miller, and I am one of the consultants for the Dance Touring Initiative program. Myself, I am an artist, performing artist. I've been touring for over 25 years as a soloist, and a huge part of that work has been about connecting to the communities where I tour. So instead of just doing a piece on stage, I do workshops and community building, perhaps dancing with, working with senior citizens, working with people who are incarcerated, bringing my work to all sorts of places other than just the stage. So our consulting team represents what this work looks like. So Rosemary Johnson, who is a presenter, who presents dance in her facility, Ivan Zagoda, who's a manager, and myself representing the artist's voice. So through our three-person consultant team, the presenters who come to us from the Dance Touring Initiative get to hear those three equal voices.
My name is Ivan Zagoda. I've been in this business for about 40 years. Most of it was a New York-based service organization called Pentacle, which I co-founded as a service organization that delivers various kinds of infrastructure support to dance companies and also booking services. So it's in that capacity that I've been coming to the Performing Arts Exchange for at least 38 years, from way back when it was at Colony Square. So I'm an old hand at this, but I transitioned out of being an agent and working the resource room about 3 years ago when I semi-retired from that organization called Pentacle. But even before I retired, I'd started to be involved in South Art's Dance Touring Initiative. It's in its 7th year, I think. It started out a number of years ago when the people at South Arts realized that there's not enough dance activity going on, not enough presenters being willing to present dance, not enough touring, not enough dance companies touring in the region. So they took what had been their annual allotment of NEA money meant for dance and repackaged it into this thing that they call the Dance Touring Initiative. So I'm one of 3 consultants that they identified early on to help design the program, guide it through its paces, facilitate the various meetings. So it was originally meant to be just one cycle, a multi-year cycle involving 10 presenters. They applied, they got identified, they got selected, and then we had a 3-year process of bringing them along as dance presenters. And we learned as we went along, but we made some really happy choices. For instance, in the first summer that they were in existence, we took them on a field trip, all 10, to Jacob's Pillow, where they did things in relation to dance that they had almost never had a chance to do before. For instance, they saw a performance twice. Almost no one gets to take the time or spend the money or have the opportunity to see a performance twice, and what they learned was kind of empowering. You know, what your eyes can tell you after the second time you see it. Things don't look the same. It could be that the dance was a little bit different, or the energy was different, or you're sitting in a completely different part of the theater and thus have a different perspective. Just to be aware of those possibilities and the fact that they could make choices based on what they see. They could empower themselves to be their own viewers of dance and not depend on the fancy critic, somebody else who's in a position of authority. And then they would meet the artist, we'd have a workshop with the artist, we'd meet the agent, we'd talk to one another, and my favorite feature was at Jacob's Pillow, there's something called the Pillow Pub, where people repair after the performance, have a beer or whatever. Sometimes the artists wander in and you just have these exciting discussions about what you just saw.
I think that the Dance Touring Initiative has worked to increase presenters' knowledge about contemporary dance, which is an art form that is not terribly visible. Presenters don't present dance as often. Contemporary dance gets presented even less often. So it's a way for the presenters to be educated in what is contemporary dance, and then how can they bring that most effectively into their communities, onto their programming seasons, and what are those activities that the dance companies can do that's not just about the stage performance, so that having a dance artist come touring to your community can reach out to more people in your community, can connect in different ways and make partnerships in your community, and build community and audience real buy-in to the art of dance because you've gotten to know the artists who are doing the work.
The whole project is really about empowering these presenters to feel more self-confident in their ability to see dance, and then consequently to represent it, to advocate for it, and then to present it in their community. Because some of them were barely further along in dealing with dance, which is a very abstract art form, than some of their audiences. So they have to be in advance of their audiences to lead the audiences. It's also a learning community, so they learn from each other. It's people who may have been aware of each other before, because some of them have been coming to the Performing Arts Exchange for years, but they're never part of a group with a common shared goal. So to see them depend less on us three consultants as resources and start to depend more on each other as resources, kind of parenting we became less and less necessary, which was great.
I think that the presenters, through the Dance Touring Initiative, have been able to talk among each other and figure out the best ways to talk to their audiences about contemporary dance. So it's that bridge play. So first, the presenter becoming comfortable with knowing this art form that they may not have been comfortable with before or known that much about before, and then through their colleagues in the Dance Touring Initiative who come from all different areas of experience, their shared language, shared knowledge, someone who's real expert partnered with someone who is doing their first dance presenting, and what they can learn from each other, because they both have something to learn from each other. What does someone who's presenting dance for a 2,400 seat theater, it's different than someone who's trying to present dance in its 600 seat theater. A community that's a city and a community that's a small town. So, but there is something that we can all learn from each other. So it's that network of learning exchange that has been very rich.
The South Arts people thought it was successful enough that they did a second round, then a third. So we're in the beginning third of the third cycle. So we've been at it for 7, 8 years. We've accumulated a list of 29 presenters committed to dance, enthusiastic about it, less afraid of it, more willing to talk to artists, willing to use each other as resources. And of course, there's a subsidy, so they do block books. So there's been a lot more dance touring in the region thanks to this program. And the Mellon Foundation has jumped in recently. In the original concept, we call them cohorts. Each cycle gave 2 seasons of supported touring in these blocks. When the next cohort came in, the original people stayed around the table because they were valuing the conversation, but there was no subsidy. Now the Mellon Foundation came in, and now there's subsidy for all 29. And that's a powerful motivator, a powerful force, and I see the agents paying attention. Oh, there's dance happening down there, so they start to attend the Performing Arts Exchange. We have a process where the companies can send in a kind of information form, not to apply for touring on this program, but to just make sure we're aware of who they are, how they meet our goals. And speaking of goals, this isn't about runouts or single performances, it's about residencies. So there is a performance, but at least 2 days of presence in the community, because it's about helping the presenter engage audiences in the community. A feature of our program that's considered pretty much the most valuable is the advance visit. We have a requirement that the artist come visit the community that they will be visiting later in advance, and it gives the presenter a chance to connect the artist with various stakeholders. What comes out of the woodwork is possible interesting community engagement activities is fascinating. We're trying to change the conversation. Old style, you're shopping in the exhibit hall, you see an agent or a dance company, what do you cost? It starts there. What are your list of services? So there's a menu. Oh, we can do intermediate, modern for that kind of thing. That's not interesting. That doesn't bring the presenter closer to the art or the audience closer to the art. So we call it changing the conversation. It's not about that checklist of things and what each lecture them costs. It's about what does your artist do, what's important to them, what are the routes they might enter our community through. And these advanced visits are the key to making sure that happens in a rich and impactful way. And South Arts now has actually a funding module just for advanced visits, whether or not it's dance or whether or not it's part of a dance touring initiative tour, because it's proved so useful and empowering both the presenter and the artist. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and it's going on, and now they're looking at the next step in their own progress is the desire and ability to commission work from dance, which means that they're looking at dance that no one has seen yet. It doesn't come with the 4-star review and all that apparatus and the fabulous photographs. They have to bring a different level of trust and understanding to the process because they're committing to it sight unseen, which is nerve-wracking and exciting.
The Dance Touring Initiative is a really, I think, important development out of the work that has been going on for so many years in this business of coming to a conference, showcasing work, and presenters networking. The Dance Touring Initiative takes it a step further and says, yes, that, and let's bring together networks or a learning community together around how do we together as a community figure out the ways to get dance deeper into communities in the Southeast.
And within the Dance Initiative at PAE, then the presenters that form part of the 29 that are already in the program, they basically can align with themselves in any combination that suits them to then select within the group.
There's a fair amount of diversity in the group that's on. Right now we're building the sort of short list of what will end up touring as blocks next year with the DTI funding support that South Arts supplies. So it's a rather diverse list. There's a good portion of these single choreographer companies, but there are also some rep companies because that fills expectations in the marketplace and certain people's needs. There's a pretty good amount of diversity. It's a shorthand for companies of color because people are genuinely interested in other cultures or the other cultures that have formed part of our culture and that have been too long ignored. So all issues of equity, representation, including parts of the community that don't always feel comfortable going to your temple of culture on the hill, that kind of thing. So it's a dynamic and it's energetic and it's a little bit disturbing sometimes, but it's vital and it's important. So that's all encapsulated in the kind of choices, and it'll wean itself out. The tours need to involve at least 3 presenters, but it doesn't have to be what we call a necklace tour. And it can involve non-DTI presenters, because there are presenters in the South who present dance who could be part of the mix. But South Arts decided it wants to support blocks because of the assumed efficiency and visibility of it. So it's a block, but with 29 people and that rule, you can have as many as, what's 29 divided by 3, quick? 8, 16, 24, 9, 8. You can have 9 different artists touring, theoretically. It'll probably narrow down to fewer than that. Because they enthuse one another with their discussions of these various artists, so it'll get winnowed down to that. But it's not from a pre-approved list. These presenters make their own choices. We consultants are like Switzerland. We approve of everything, and are gratified to see the tastes get more and more sophisticated and the choices get braver. So they're not all trying to find out the touring version of So You Think You Can Dance. They're looking at some really experienced, incredibly companies, beautiful dancers doing interesting, varied work. So we think it's a huge success.